Hello, welcome to Monday Night Paranormal Live with myself, Paul and Jenny for Host the Ghost, Angela from South Coast Ghost, Julia from Paranation Ghost Hunt Event, Luke, one of our investigators, and Gemma, one of our lead investigators. So, welcome, Gemma, tonight. So it's
Thank
good to see
you.
you on the screen for a change
I know,
instead
it
of
makes a
writing it.
change, doesn't it?
It makes a change to see you this side of the screen and not the other side. So, welcome to Monday Night Paranormal Live. So,
Thank
tonight
you.
we'll be talking about observing objects moving by their unknown source. So, if you have any comments, just please send them in. Angela will put them up on the screen. So, anything you've seen that's moved on its own, or you just can't work out why it's moved or why it's in a different place, why is it even in a different room, maybe? Why is the picture facing a different way? That type of stuff. So Gemma has a little story to tell us. Luke says he's got loads of stories to tell us. Look.
Yeah. Okay.
Luke's no, I didn't say that. And me and Angela and Julia were just going to sit in the background and watch. So no, we'll be there. Don't worry. So as I say tonight, observing objects moving by their unknown source. So please come in and join us. Send your comments if you want to come on the panel and talk about your team or whatever. Please get in contact with myself or Angela and come on there like Gemma has. Gemma's plucked up the courage to come on here tonight. She's normally behind the screen. So anyway, off we go then. Gemma, do you want to tell us a bit about your story?
Yeah, okay. So I would have been about 11. We lived in a mid terraced, like old Victorian house in Farnham in Surrey. And I don't know, there was something about it anyway when we moved in there. When it just feels a bit off, Um, and basically, one morning I got woken up. It was about. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Luke.
About 5 o'clock. To like loads of banging, like downstairs, and I thought, God, what's going on? And I mean, I don't mean like a little bit of banging. I mean like. It was definitely coming from the kitchen, and it was like loads of like drawers rattling, and I thought, oh, my mum's obviously downstairs cooking or something. So I've gone downstairs, and the further and further I go down, obviously the louder and louder it is. The door's shut, and it's sort of like a frosted glass door. Anyway, I go and open it, and like, well, your cut. I can't pronounce it. Where, like your knife and forks and everything are.
Cutlery.
The drawer
Cutlery.
is flung out. Yeah, I can't pronounce it.
That's fine. That's
So,
perfect.
okay, so the drawer is open, and basically all the knife, forks, and spoons are all out of the drawer, and they're spread. No word of a lie, but they're spread all over the dining room. Well, our dining room table, it's like a kitchen table in the kitchen. It was spread all over it.
Wow.
So anyway, I went upstairs to get my mum because I thought maybe my mum's cleaning it or something. I don't know, maybe she got up early. And when I went up there to get her, she was like asleep. So I woke her up. I said, "Oh, something's happened. Maybe we've been, I don't know. I thought maybe we've been burgled or something."
Yeah.
She came downstairs, and half of the knife, forks, and spoons had been put back in there,
Wow.
but
Blimey.
all the rest of them were still over there.
Yeah.
And that to be honest with you, that actually started my whole experience with the paranormal world. Well, not it played on my mind, but no, there was no one down there. Everyone was in bed. My mum said my mum couldn't work it out either, and I said they were all on the table, and I said I've come and get you. It took like 5 minutes, and then I don't know how many were back in the drawer, but I would probably say, I don't know, about half of them were put back in the drawer, and they were put back in the right place.
Oh wow.
So you can take from that whatever you want to take
Yeah.
from that. But like I said, that's the only thing really that ever happened. We were in that house for about a year. But the only thing we ever felt like my mum and dad used to say it felt really cold on the stairs as you would come down into the kitchen. I felt a bit cold, but I think we just all felt a bit eerie, but nothing ever happened other than that. But that was you couldn't even explain it.
No.
How
And when
old
they
are
were
But
on the
I can the sound, I can still hear the sound of the drawer rattling. Well, at the time I didn't know what it was, but I could hear just like rattling. And you know, like with all your silver, you know, when it's rubbing together.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can still hear that, and I will never forget it. And it's still like, yeah, I don't talk about it really because I don't really want to. I don't want to relive it really because it was a bit. I couldn't sleep. From then on, I actually slept on the floor in my sister's room because it freaked me out.
Oh.
Yeah, and you couldn't have said it was in my imagination
No.
because my mum come down and she was like, "Oh my God, what on earth has happened?"
Yeah.
And it only
Unless
happened the
sometimes
once.
maybe was I sleepwalk? Then I did think, could I have been sleepwalking? Could I have done it? I don't know.
Would you have sleepwalked and gone back upstairs and got your mum?
But
I
then
wouldn't have thought
could
so.
you have I don't know. Could I have woken up all of a sudden in the kitchen? I don't know.
Yeah. And when they were on the table, were they all paired together, or they just sort
They
of
were
just thrown all over?
No, they were just thrown all over the table.
And when you come back down, some of them were back in the right places.
When I'd come back down, because I looked in the drawer was still open. There was nothing in that drawer whatsoever. And then when I come back down, I would say half of them, but all back in like the knife, the spoon, the little spoon, all in the right order.
Were they
Half
in
of
the
them
wrong
were
order in the
still.
drawer?
I can't.
You-
I don't know. I can't
Do you
remember.
think someone took them out because they were in the wrong order, or a spirit would have took them out and put them in the correct order?
Yeah. To be fair, knowing how my mum was, it was a long time ago. I actually don't think they were ever in the right order. But
I
they were
wonder if
clear
that
as
was the
day. They were
cause.
really,
Mm.
yeah.
So that
What do
would
you make of
make you
that
wonder
then?
if they were in the drawer in the wrong order, the spirit, whoever it may be, thought, well, this is not good enough, and took them all out and then put them back in the right order.
But it must have been, if it was a spirit and it wasn't me
Yeah.
sleepwalking, or it must have been pretty to do that. You must have to have a lot of energy to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Completely take all of that out.
But even to open a drawer,
Mm.
Yeah.
because it's a heavy drawer with a cutlery in, isn't it? It's not a light drawer, like it's got
No.
bags or things. It's quite a heavy drawer to draw out. So the spirit that done it was obviously quite strong or
I would
energy
never
bound.
ever. I don't ever talk about it. I don't think I've
No.
ever talked. I haven't. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone, even in the paranation world, paranormal world, because
Yeah.
I didn't really. When I think we were talking, and I think that someone made a comment about moving objects today.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I suddenly thought of that, and I thought, gosh, and it's been on my mind ever since. And I'm like, oh gosh.
So once the drawer
Yeah.
was back in order, nothing happened ever after that.
After that, my mum, after what we put everything back, and she said, "Don't worry."
Yeah.
And then nothing was ever said after that, because I don't really think I don't know if my parents if they thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing ever happened again.
How
Bizarre.
strange.
I know.
Isn't it?
But the house I was even on later on earlier, I was even on trying to find the house. I managed to find it on like Zoopla, like you
Oh,
find
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was looking at the house, and it was built in the 1800s. And the road it was built on, the reason the road was built, it was for the Farnham train station for easy
All
access to
right.
get to. That's the whole reason they built the road.
Right.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a very old Victorian house. You know, it had the whole bay windows coming out. The the windows were sliding.
And you don't know who lived in there before your family?
Well, no, because to be fair, I was only 11 at the time, and I wasn't really into looking. You know, I
Yeah.
wasn't really thinking. You know, I wonder who was in there before or
Yeah. You'd
anything.
have no need to, would you?
Well, no, we were only there for a year.
Right.
But that was whatever you can make of that. I don't know, but that's quite
interesting, isn't it? Isn't it? Strange thing, isn't it?
Bizarre.
I just wonder, because it was out of order, whether the spirit tried. Because I can't believe that you would sleepwalk and do that, empty the drawer. Because what woke you was the noise, wasn't it? That made you go downstairs.
What woke me was the noise in the kitchen. Yeah.
So it must have been going on before. If you were sleepwalking, you may have woken up in the kitchen. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think I just told myself I was probably sleepwalking, not just. But yeah, maybe I don't know. But then again, when we've talked about dreams on here, you know,
Yeah.
you have funny dreams, and maybe was I dreaming that there was a bang in the kitchen, and then I don't know. Did I take them out myself? But how could you explain going to get my mum and then half of them?
Yeah.
But then
Well, that's
again, was
it,
that in
isn't
my
it?
head? Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were only half out. But I swear
Yeah.
they were all out because I looked at the drawer and there was nothing in there.
How strange.
So I'm just trying to, I'm trying to debunk it.
Yeah.
Trying to debunk it, but I don't know if,
Yeah. Yeah.
it is
Jen's
odd.
got a story. That's very
Okay.
odd. Very
Yeah.
strange. Where are you? There you
Okay.
Hi,
So,
Jen.
hi, interesting,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Very interesting story.
Not showing anything, am I? Right. Okay. So, my mum was a piano teacher and she was also a concert pianist as well. And she had a baby grand piano in our front room. I was about 15 or 16, I think. Anyway, I'd gone to bed early, and you know, sometimes you kind of wake up and you think, oh, what's the time? And you think, oh, it must be morning, yeah, because you've gone to bed quite early. So I'd woken up to hear the piano going and like all the classical music being played. And I thought, oh, blimey, what's Mum practicing at this time of the... Because I was used to her playing the piano like that. And I thought, what's she practicing so early in the morning for? Or maybe she's got a concert or something. Anyway, so I've come out into the hall and all the lights are off. And I thought, that's weird. And as I've come down the stairs, I hadn't actually put the light on. The front room light was on. And as I got further down the stairs, the piano stopped playing. So I thought, oh, she's heard me come down, obviously. So I've gone in the front room, no one's there.
Wow.
Lights on, no one's there. Everyone's in bed. And it was, then I checked the time and it was about sort of 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh. Wow.
And actually, she said to me once that she's been on stage and she felt like she wasn't there, but she was playing as if like someone was overshadowing her or something. Yeah, as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just shows you, doesn't it? Really.
Never forget that. You know, as you were talking about that, it's the memory suddenly came back to me, and I thought, oh yeah, I must say that.
I'm sure everybody has
funny,
a memory.
isn't it? A lot of these, you know, you hear some of these stories and that. It's funny. A lot of them happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't know. So is it? I don't know. It's just all a bit bizarre, isn't it?
Maybe it's because
we're
it's like
just a bit more
quiet and
aware of our ears. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought it was anything weird or it didn't upset me or anything, because by that time I was quite spiritual anyway, because I used to play with spirit children in the garden when I was little. So it wasn't like it upset me, and I thought,
Not like
I thought-
me.
Yeah, no, I thought it was weird, but I didn't sort of think. I think I might have told my mum, but she thought I was weird anyway.
Yeah. Oh.
So
But it just goes to show you, doesn't it? If you're in the early hours of the morning, you're at your defences are dropped, in it, so you're more open to spirits during the. That's why, you know, when you're at sleep and your defences drop, spirit find it easier to get you a message in your dreams.
yeah,
Whereas I think if that had like happened during the day, Gem, if you were like, you know, just walk, you know, in the house or whatever, and it's a busy, you know, people coming
You
and
could
going.
think someone's
You just,
cleaning
you know, it's
or something. They're taking it
yeah,
out to clean.
yeah, or they haven't quite pressed the drawer in, and you know, or yeah,
It's
or someone
falling
just,
out.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, you could have gone down there during the day and thought, oh, why's Mum got all the drawer out and not batted an eyelid about it and just carried on your daily, you know, your daily things that you do.
It
I
was
mean,
really bizarre. I am going to
yeah,
phone my mum. I will phone my mum tomorrow, actually. I've never spoken to her about it since. And I'm going to ask her. I should have done it today. I just haven't had time.
yeah,
Just to
yeah,
ask her what she thought, because I'm sure she would remember.
yeah. It's a very odd thing to happen, isn't it? But
Yeah, it
it's
was
you know,
odd.
it's not uncommon because, you know, spirits do move things in kitchen because I think they make noise. You know, you've seen doors slamming and drawers opening and banging. Quite why they point the kitchen, I don't know, but
I
it
tell
always
you
seems to
what,
be
I
that
don't know
area.
if you remember our obviously good friend Derek. Julia, you would probably know this story.
I
He
know
told me
what one.
a number of times. I don't know if he told anyone else it about the kitchen knife.
Yeah, he lives in very close to me, probably a couple of 2-3 miles away from me, and he said that he was in his kitchen. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Gemma. He said he was in his kitchen, and apparently this knife, did it come out the drawer? Was it in one of those knife rack things?
I
But
think it was in one of the knife rack things. He
yeah,
actually saw it with his own eyes.
he said it sort of like came up,
Floated in the air.
and literally just sort of like went across the room, like
And
I
then
don't know, probably about
dropped.
a foot in the air, and then just dropped.
Wow.
But didn't he say he heard like it sounded like the cutlery drawer was rattling?
Yeah, he said that. Yeah.
And you know, then he saw his knife just going across the room.
And that
stopped, and
happened
then
in broad
dropped.
daylight.
See, that
Yeah,
would worry me.
Yeah.
That would worry me too.
You know, if
especially
you
a knife.
saw that, I mean, exactly, Julia. You saw a knife floating in the air, you got to think something's not quite right in here.
Yeah, I'd
You
be standing
don't
up
mind an
and
apple.
moving, I would.
You don't mind an apple or an orange floating, but not a knife.
No, do you
I
know
think I would have got
exactly
rid of
what I
knives.
said to him when he said that? I said I wouldn't be able to live there because it's almost like some sort of warning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think, but
I
he
would have took
reckons
it as a
nothing ever
warning.
happened after that.
Strange, isn't it? I wonder if these things occur when the houses are being changed. Because if you have new people going into a new house, the energy is different from the people that would have lived there. And do you think that disturbs spirit because the energy is different from like your family, Gemma, going into that house? There's a different energy to the people that lived there before.
Yeah, true. I don't know who lived there before either.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, what happened to me, really, this is what really started me into the paranormal world. Was I got home, did the normal day with the boys and all that sort of stuff, and went to bed. And it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, so I looked at the alarm clock, and I suddenly woke up with a start because in my body I felt someone was in the room. You know, when I suddenly woke with a jolt, and I thought there's somebody in the room because I could see a dark shadow standing at the end of the bed, and I thought someone's got in. So I've sat bolt upright, you know, your heart's going 10 to the dozen. And as I sat upright, I sort of let my eyes adjust to the light, and I saw my nan standing there at the end of the bed. And I'm thinking, I've got to be in a dream. You know, I can't. She's been dead. She died on the Queen's Jubilee.
wow.
So, you know, she'd been 77, I think she died. So, and this was at least 10 years later. So I'm thinking, well, that was weird. So I sort of, she disappeared and I laid back down, thought about it, and then just went back off to sleep again. Never thought much of it. Thought, oh, it must have been a dream or something. I never really thought anything into the paranormal like yourself, Jim. I never really sort of just in one ear and out the other. And then I remember the next night, it was around about 1:45, 10 to 2. I suddenly woke up and she was standing there again at the end of the bed looking at me. And I'm thinking, now 2 days, 2 nights in a row, around the same time, why? What's going on here then? So she sort of had her, as I remember as a child, she had an apron on and a little round glasses and a greyish hair. Though I could see it was grey because it was dark, but I could tell it was curly. She had these little round glasses and I recognised the apron. And I'm sort of sat up. Everybody was asleep, and I sort of said, "Hello, Nan, are you okay?" And then it disappeared again, and I'm thinking, "What is this?"
Oh.
So I thought, I can't have dreamed it 2 nights in a row. So anyway, third night, same thing happened again. About 5 to 2, 2 o'clock-ish. I woke with a startle again, and there she was again, standing there. But this time I could see her hands on the bed, on the end of the bed stead, the end. And I'm like looking, and she's like saying something. And I'm thinking, what's she saying? And now my heart is really going because I just don't understand this. And as I sort of sat up closer to try and see what she was miming, she just disappeared in front of me. Gone. And I thought, what's this? So I spoke to my ex-wife then, and I said to her about it. She said, well, what's she saying? I said, I don't know. I don't know what she's saying, whether it's a warning, it's something, get into the spiritual world. I really don't know. So on the 4th night, again, but this was about 20 past 2, so it was quite later. And again, I woke up because I felt someone was in the room. That I had that feeling in my body. They woke up, and there she was again. But instead of being at the end of the bed, she was at the side of the bed, a bit closer.
Getting closer.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure about this because, I never been into the paranormal world then. So it's quite scary. And I was trying to work out what she was saying. And she sort of leant forward, said something, and she was gone. And I never ever saw her since. And I don't know to this day what she was saying. And that sort of spurred me into thinking, I need to learn more about it. It's a bit like you, Gemma.
Yeah.
I need to learn more about this. What have I just seen? And what have I just witnessed? Because I was always taught, like my parents were never very spiritual. But as a child, I had various things happen to me. And they would go, don't be silly. You're just messing about. Or don't be daft. There's no such things as ghosts, that type of thing. Yeah. So I just, had things happen, but then gradually sort of fade away. And I remember telling my mum and dad then, they said, you're just dreaming it.
Yeah.
I said, she was there. She was there. I saw her. She was, no. She's been dead for 10 years. She can't be there. You die, you're gone, and that's the end of it. And I thought, that's not the end of it. I know that's not the end. And that's where I went on to study parapsychology.
Was your nan quite spiritual? Was she quite?
I think she was.
Or do you not know, really?
We used to go round there on a Saturday because my granddad used to have he owned a car shop selling car spares. And my mum and dad used to go there and run it Saturday afternoon while he come home and had his dinner and had a sleep. And no, God forbid, anybody make any noise while your grandfather's asleep, that type of thing. But they had an upright piano. And I remember my mum and dad going away and we would stay upstairs. And again, we would hear the piano play. Wow. And that piano was what they dragged out on VE Day into the street because they lived in Feltham in Middlesex. And my granddad was an air raid warden, but worked in the army ducts. So he was a mechanic in the army. And they had an upright piano. And they took it out during VE Day and played in the streets, roll out the barrel and all the parties that they did. And I remember sleeping in my nan's house, and she had obviously 2 bedrooms upstairs, and we were always at the top of the stairs, me and my sisters. And I remember one night the piano playing, but they were fast asleep. So my mum and dad, I told them, they said, don't be stupid, there's no such things as ghosts, life's over. When you go, that's the end of it. And I thought, you know what? It's not the end. I know there's something there's something out there. And then I saw an advert in the paper saying, you know, study parapsychology at the University of Egham as a mature student. And I thought, do you know what? And it gave a breakdown. And I've contacted the guy. He said, well, come down and have a chat with me and we'll see whether it's the sort of thing you want to learn about. And I did. It was about ghosts, spirits, angels, you know, how many angels people saw during the war, that when houses were bombed, there's people standing at the top of the gate, opening the gate, and the people would come out and just disappear. There was a very famous one with a man walking his dog down the street. I can't remember, it was Tottenham somewhere, I think. And he remembers walking down the road and the whole street had been bombed. And he saw what he described as a glowing woman at the end of a gate, holding the gate open for the family that were killed in the bombing. And then they disappeared. So, and that sort of really spurred me on. And obviously they studied time travel and, you know, deja vu. And that sort of really led me in to the paranormal, really. So it's quite an interesting story. But I know even to this day, like you say, Jim, I saw her. I saw her there. I know what she was saying.
You see, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the first few nights I was dreaming. You know, why would she be back in 10 years' time? You know, it wasn't an anniversary of her passing or anything like that. You know, and I said to my mum, when did Nan die? And she said, oh, the Queen's Jubilee, 1977. It was July something. She said, why? And this was in September, October time. She said, why? I said, I think I've seen Nan. She said, don't be silly. She's dead. She's gone. And I thought, I know what I saw, Mum. She said, oh, you're as bad as your sister, because my elder sister's quite into this. And she said, even as a child, you used to say you saw things that, you know, it's ridiculous. Your mind is running all over the place. And then and it wasn't until I sort of met Jen, really, when it started to come spiritual, when I realised, Jen said, you can do it. You just shut yourself down. And I did, because I was told.
Yeah.
You know, that's silly and nothing. And it wasn't until I met Jen and she said, we'd just wake up that side of your spiritual side. And it did. It didn't take long.
Wow. So how long have you been doing it for then, Paul?
I started in the paranormal, studying parapsychology. When was that? I've been in it about 23, 24 years now.
Wow.
I've known Darren for a long time before as well.
Wow.
And we used to go backwards and forwards, and we both worked for a team called Surrey Paranormal.
Okay.
So myself and Darren, we worked together there. And after I finished the parapsychology at the University of, it was a college then, but now it's become Royal Holloway College, Royal Holloway University now. So, and it was a college then. So it was like a mainstream thing. So there was young students studying it as part of their doctorate or whatever they were doing. And they just did like 3 years. And myself and another guy did 3.5 years, because we were mature students. So we'd go there twice a week, and then you come home with your homework. They would do theirs during the day, but we would have to do ours when we squeezed in, and then they sat their test, and then we had to go back for the day to do our end of test at the parapsychology. They came out with a distinction. But it really triggered something in me it really took my interest without straight away, just instantly. I wanted to know. I wanted to, you know, and we all ask that question, didn't they? Is there life after death? And I think a lot of us know the answer to that, don't we? You know, people outside probably don't, but, you know, you often get, oh, do you believe in all of them ghosts things? And Angela was there the night we went to Lynn's, wasn't Angela? And that guy came over.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? He was really, really questioning him, wasn't he? Do you actually believe in what you see? I don't know who it was. He's a friend of Lynn's, I think. Do you believe in what you remember?
Yeah, none of us really wanted to answer. We're sort of all looking at each other. Like, we'll let Paul talk to him.
Had he had a few drinks?
He had a few spirits, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you did.
But he was asking some awkward questions, but we had the answers. You know, do you believe in ghosts? Yeah. How do you know they're real? Because I've seen and I've heard them. Do you think there's life after death? Yes, I do. It was them type of questions. Someone's really skeptical, and you welcome skepticism, don't you?
Yeah.
It's part of what we do. You know, people come in skeptical, and it is part of what we do. You know, And if you think about it, we go on an investigation, we're all skeptics, aren't we, until something happens. So, we're no different to them, but we believe when we hear a knock, a tap, a bang, or like you say, something moves, you think.
And also, we always, well, ever since I've done it, whoever I've been with, we always try and debunk it all the time, because we want to really believe it, don't we, that has just happened.
You can debunk 80% of what you hear, see, feel, can't you? Door freaks, this happens, that happens. So you can debunk 80% of it, really. But it's that 20% when you think, I don't know. And whether you find the answer to that, you just go away thinking, well, I've had an experience. I know I can't debunk it. So, what is it? Julie, you said you had a story.
Yes.
Jen's having an away day here, glowing the lights up and down.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember when I was little, must have only been 5, 6, 7, something like that. We lived in this like mid-terrace house. It was like a 60s style, 50s, no, about a 60s style house. It wasn't that old. But you'd always, if you were sort of like in my bedroom, you could, and the door was always open and the landing light was always on. There was always this figure that used to like walk across the landing, sort of like dart across the landing, but you used to see him. And I don't know, you just knew it was a man. It was weird. It was probably the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced. But yeah, I've seen a few over the years. I saw a little boy looking through my friend's window and he sort of darted off. That was a spooky house. Lots of things happened there. And we were also in her bedroom, like looking straight out onto the landing. And she had these big farmhouse doors with the big latches on. And the door just shut and the latch lifted, pulled to, and the latch dropped. And I said to my friend, I said, oh, there's no one there. Your door's just closed and the latch has just gone up. And it was one of those houses. It was a semi, but the house was always freezing. No matter where you were, it was always freezing. In the winter, it was literally unbearable. It was so cold. And it didn't have any heating, which made it even worse. And if you sat in the lounge, you'd always hear somebody like run up the stairs. And because it was a semi, the staircases were on the outside of each house. So, and you always heard someone run. I said, is your sister home? I said, someone just run upstairs. She goes, no, she's at school. It always does that. And you're like, how are you not, how are you not like questioning it? Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Like, it was just a really, really weird house. And I think the worst one I saw was when I was at a hotel and I woke up in the middle of the night and there was like this almost like a gamekeeper standing through the bed. And he was like a khaki, greeny, grey colour. That was probably the most ghosty ghost I've ever seen. He was really quite, but I don't think we've had like things go missing and then turn up, like, especially things that you really need to like now, like car keys, things like that, and you can't find.
We've had that as well, but I just think it's me having memory problems. I'm like, where's that gone? I can never find it. And I'm like, I must
AirPods, they're always going missing.
How funny. They are quite funny, aren't they, Spirit, when they do these things? You got to laugh, and it's like that. When we did the case in Colchester, that house in Colchester, when the shoes were put up on the stairs and all the shoelaces were tied together and the net curtains were tied, even to lift the kitchen stool up and put it on the top, that takes some doing, doesn't it?
That was quite remarkable, that, wasn't it?
That was just an incredible case to work on. It was just so interesting. But when you started to go to the history, you realise then it's not the house, it's the land. It's the issue.
Did you see anything while you were there happen? Or
We
does it just happen when there's ladies
did we see anything while we were there?
No, I don't think we did.
No,
They had CCTV.
they had like cameras inside the house. Remember, I sent you that picture of that person leaning forward in that, and you managed to turn it round. The CCTV caught that, the other thing that happened is it always used to take the right shoe. So when they came in, they had a shoe rack, and all the right shoes used to disappear. Only the right shoe, none of the others. And then she rang me up one day, said, I can't stand this. I've lost my shoes now. You know, I don't know where they are. You know, they're brand new, blah, 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 blah. So I said to her, right, go in the lounge and then say to Spirit, you need to bring them shoes back now. This is not funny anymore. You know, really make it demanding. And then she hung up and said, I'll call you back. And about half an hour later, she rang me up. She said, I can't find them, can't find the shoes. So I sort of try and connect with the house. And I said to her, have you got, because we'd never been there before this. I said, have you got like a corner sofa in the lounge? She said, yeah, how do you know that? I said, well, I can see a corner sofa and I can see something beyond that sofa. She said, no, there can't be anything there because it's quite tight to the wall. I said, go and have a look. I can see something behind the sofa. And she went and had a look and there were her shoes behind the sofa. So when I looked it up about shoes going missing, in the early 14th, 15th century, when they were building houses, they used to put shoes in the walls to ward off evil spirits and witches.
Right.
And we reckon they put them close to the wall to ward off something. So
Bizarre.
yeah, very, very bizarre case of the things that happened, really. Andrew, you got anything that happened to yourself?
Yeah, a few things.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all here actually in this house.
All right.
First one I can remember is wasn't such a great experience. It was only sort of like a really quick thing, but Amy and Ben had been arguing, and Ben had been really sort of nasty to Amy, and I don't know what he'd said, but he'd actually made Amy's nodding, she can remember. He actually made Amy cry with what he'd said, and this is like really unusual for it to go this far. And I was sat on my computer, which is just over there, and on the wall over there we have this big canvas, quite a long one, and it just jumped off the wall. There's no way it could have fallen off, and nobody was over there. There wasn't the dog or anything, and it just came off the wall and landed on the sofa. And I sort of put that down to like the bad energy that they'd created.
Yeah.
And then
How long ago was that then, Angela?
that was a few years ago now, wasn't it, Amy? A few years ago.
I remember one. I'll just bang quickly. I remember when I was talking to Darren once, and we were talking via, video link or whatever. And I can't remember. I think it was on a live or something that we were doing. Paul might have been there, and I was chatting to him, and literally behind him, this book.
That's right. Yeah.
Came out the shelf and fell down.
Yeah.
It came out.
That's happened a few
and fell
times
to the
with the
floor.
books there.
Does it?
Well, this was at your house, Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
there's
is there something? Have you got like a spirit there or something?
Yeah, we think there is someone here called Tom, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tom. I don't know who Tom is.
He's apparently like
A
kind of
child, I think.
like Jack's age, and he's kind of like mischievous.
Yeah, a teenager called Tom. I don't know where he's come from or.
Has he always been there? Has he always been there since you've been there?
Yeah, as far as we can tell.
Wow.
You sort of see a sort of shadow. Sometimes I'm in the kitchen and we've got this little window here, and then you can see like a figure go past it when like in here. That's not Tom. Who's that then?
That's some woman.
Oh, that's a woman apparently.
Tell you what, I would be.
Got you.
See you later. I'm finding somewhere else to live. Gosh.
I remember doing a live on here once, and I had a face come around the corner of the door.
Oh.
So we get that. Yeah, but we get that a lot.
We get shadows. We see shadows out in the hallway. Yeah. We see lots of shadows here.
And Poppy saw it as well because she's looking.
Yeah, I was here one night with myself and Poppy, and Jen was out doing something, and I have the door slightly open like it is, and I thought I heard a noise, and I sort of listened, and then Poppy looked up and sort of looked round the door, and as I looked through the crack of the door, I saw a shadow walk down the hallway, and Poppy was watching it because she was like with her head, and she very rarely is bothered by it, and I thought, who's that? Jen, you all right? Thinking it was Jen, it wasn't. Gemma's still at work. But we often get, like Angela's saying, shadow figures going backwards. I expect Julia does it. Yours with that little girl, don't you, Julia?
Yeah. The cat. She's 17 now, but she's always sort of like, if she sits on the arm of the chair, she'll like, you can just see her. She gets fixated with something. She like looks through the lounge door onto the bottom stairs, and she sort of starts staring at something. But I think the little girl's got a cat, which was my old cat, that she's holding. So maybe Fifi's looking at my old cat, thinking, "Oh, what's he? He doesn't live here. What's he doing?"
Yeah.
But she just seems to be sort of like at the bottom of the stairs. You don't feel it when you come down the stairs, but when you go up, it's like you get that shiver, like you've just walked through something. But I don't come downstairs at night because if I go to bed, I go to bed, and I don't like to come downstairs unless I really have to. But it's difficult.
I don't know about Anne. What else, Angela, have you had?
Darren was doing one of his videos one night, or it was really early in the morning, and I think it's on the South Coast Ghost YouTube channel, still up there. And he was talking away, and then a book just falls off from behind, similar to what's happened before. But it's just the way he reacts to it. It's so funny.
Wow.
Does make him jump, doesn't it?
Yeah, he sort of stops like that.
What was that? How funny. I've often woken up. Sorry, Angela, go on.
I think my favourite one was it was about a year ago, and I was sat here, and I was looking at all these different reels and videos on Facebook about people in the Lake District and all the places you can go. Because I was thinking about planning a trip to scatter his ashes in all these different places, and the Lake District's one of them. And I was saving all these videos and reels and writing stuff down. And then attached to the desk at the side with some what are they called? Well, it's attached to the desk. It's a speaker, and I have no idea what it's attached to or anything.
Oh no!
I've never seen before, and that's all.
We've lost you, Angela.
You're breaking up.
Start again.
Can't leave us halfway through a story.
Speaker.
You froze then.
Okay.
Oh no!
Oh, it's getting really exciting.
Yeah.
You're frozen.
Doesn't want me to tell the story, does he?
Go on.
Tell us the story. We missed it.
There was a speaker with a wire.
That's gone again, isn't it? Maybe she's not meant to tell us the story.
Yeah.
Have you thought of that?
Yeah.
Luke, we'll talk to you.
Yes,
what's going on? Oh, you're back.
Go on, quickly.
I'm back.
Tell us the story.
To tell you, but then we've got this little Dalek over there that every now and again it just lights up randomly, and I thought that was quite interesting in itself. All these things that lit up, and then in the kitchen something just flew off the side onto the floor. So it was like all these things that happened all at the same time, and I sort of took that as a sign that that's what he wanted me to do. These places in the Lake District, that's where he wanted me to go.
Yeah.
It's like the light came on and that came on, and then something flew off in there, and I think another book fell off behind me as well. I was like, okay.
I think that's acknowledgement, isn't it? That one.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Luke? You still there?
Yeah. Is the mic all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
I thought it was feedback. I thought I had feedback earlier.
No?
I can hear you.
That's good. Yeah. Was that place on with we done an investigation in that house where we slept over for the night with Darren and is it Cogs? Is it Castle Cottage it was?
Oh yeah.
Castle Cottage. Gosh, yeah.
Talking with
that in a hurry.
Oh, it's touching my leg.
Talking with Darren.
Got my ankle.
Talking with Darren on the table and all the plates moved by himself.
Really?
I thought I thought Darren put his hand on the table, but he didn't. He was sitting still. A stack of plates, and they were like vibrated like on the table.
Well, sort of
It's
rattled.
like a rattle, like vibe. Now when someone smashed their fist on the table,
Yeah.
and it being I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How strange! How weird is that?
Yeah.
Did Darren pick up who it was or why it did it, or
He didn't in the end, did he? I think he didn't. In the end. He just wondered why it moved. He couldn't believe it.
it shows you, doesn't it? When you least expect it, they're in there like a shot, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else, Luke, happened to you?
Well, I saw my nan appear in my bedroom when she died that morning.
Oh, did
She's
you?
still wearing the hospital gown, and she had like her eyes all dark around her eyes. It was because I heard her shouting. She was shouting at me, and I wondered who it was. And I saw her standing there briefly with that hospital gown on.
God.
Did that wake you up, or was you sort of awake anyway?
No, it woke me up.
Because you heard someone shouting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it just shows how strong they can be, can't they? You know, where do they get all this energy off? I remember being asleep here and thought, I can hear voices, and I thought they were outside. And Jenna tell you, we've heard this loads of times. And I thought I heard a man and a woman talking in a conversation, thinking, who's outside talking at this time in the morning? Sort of looked out the window, nobody there. Well, that's really weird. And then sort of listened, and I could hear a man and a woman having a conversation. I can't tell you what it was about. It was quite mumble, but it was a conversation of something. And Jen was fast asleep, so I thought, it's got to be somebody outside the front door. So I went out the front door, no one there. And as I came into the lounge, it stopped. I heard it as I came through the door here, this door here. As I got to here, just at the edge of the door, it stopped.
God.
And I said, Jen, because Jen's come in from shopping and her people in here, haven't you?
Yeah.
And she's gone, oh no, Steph's here with the girls. Oh my God.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't so much that. No, it was.
Jen, I'll tell you.
Right. So I've come in from shopping this day, and it was like one of those quick turnarounds. I had to dump the shopping and go back out again. And as I walked in the door, I'd like walked in really quietly for some reason, and even Poppy didn't bark. Anyway, so I've heard this conversation like a child and a woman talking, and I thought, oh blimey, what's Steph doing here? Of all the days that she should pop round, I've got to go back out, right? So anyway, as I've got to the front room, I'm about to say hello, it stopped. And I've walked in, no one's in there.
Do you know, I've had
I
that
thought,
as well.
oh my
Years
God.
ago.
I was gobsmacked. I really was, because I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to say to her? I've got to go back out again.
God, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. But we
used
get
to
so
have
much stuff going on here, don't we? Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, who was about to say something?
I think it was Julia.
Julia, sorry.
About 20 odd years ago, we went through, it happened, I don't know, probably about 3 or 4 times, something like that, where I'd go to the front door and it would sound like there's 2 ladies like talking in my lounge, and I'd open the front door and I'd take like 2 steps into the hall and then it would just stop. But you could hear a couple of ladies like talking in the lounge. But yeah, that's just reminded me that we used to have that as well.
Yeah.
No idea what that was.
Yeah.
Christine's put, when I moved into my new house, I was sitting on the sofa and saw a dark shadow going across my wall. And after that, we had weird things happening most days, which was scary. Is that still happening now, Christine? Do you still see them, or you same place? You know, and that begs the question, really, doesn't it? You know, when your spirit come close, how can it be that you smell their perfume or their cigarette smoke?
Yeah, happens. So, yeah.
How can you work that? How? I often sit here thinking, like a saddo, thinking if spirit come that close and they wear, and it's like, you know, giving a reading, isn't it? They'll give you that smell. You say your grandma used to wear what I would say was lavender perfume, but that spirit would give you that. How can they give you that smell? Or your grandfather smoked a Pacific tobacco, or drank a Pacific, because you could smell it, or I often wonder how spirit can do that. Any idea? It's weird, isn't it? It's a bit mind blowing, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, I think it was like
it
when
is
me and Gemma
weird
did.
because Andrew's dad, he passed away many years ago now, like 20 years ago. Actually, it might have been longer, but yeah. And Andrew, his mum, Taranna, said it was about a week after he passed away. They didn't smoke, but he used to smoke, and she said, she could smell cigarette smoke in the house, like his cigarette smoke. How weird.
How
I
can they
don't
do
know
that?
how. I know. But you
It's
hear
mind
about it
blowing.
all the time, don't you?
Yeah. They say you get a familiar tune that your mum, your nan, or whoever used to play when you were a child, and you hear that music, you think, "Oh, I haven't heard that for years. Why am I hearing it now?" Or you get that smell of perfume or that odor that your grandfather used to have, And I often sit here and think, is it spirit getting that close that you can actually? But how can they carry that smell from the spirit world? Or is it
Yeah, it's
something they
odd.
can do to give you a familiarization, like an evidence? I just don't know, how they can do it. Christine's, but I had to get 2 priests in to bless the house. There were times I didn't want to be in the house. My daughter Lauren was getting scratched, growling, moving things,
Wow.
though I was losing my mind. You can imagine that, things like that, and also you're battling things you can't see, aren't you? That's the thing. That's sometimes, we go on a paranormal night and things start to happen. And do you ever sit there and think, if something really big was to happen, I couldn't see it coming? Because you wouldn't see it coming.
No.
It would just be there, bang, a seat, a chair move, whatever. Because you wouldn't know what spirit were going to do. So you're always very tense, isn't it?
I
And
tell
Gemma
you
proved that at
something. You
Oxford
said
Castle.
I'll tell you. Sorry about you saying that chair moved. I think it was last year we went to Wimmering Manor.
All right.
I can't remember who was there now. There was about three or four of us in a room, and it was like a wooden, really heavy chair, and we were all like near the chair, and we heard something, and we were like something shuffling. And when we all looked, the whole chair did near enough a 360 on its own.
Oh.
Unfortunately, no one had the camera on it. Not a
Isn't that always the
video.
way? Yeah,
Always
isn't that
the
always the way?
way. I know, but we
It
never
is.
saw it first. We heard it. We were like, "What on earth is that?" And then we looked. Yeah, and it turned. It was unbelievable, actually.
So if you were there and you actually see it turn on its own with your own, would that have been enough to convince you? Or would you have run?
Well, I did leg it, to be fair. I yelled and then I legged it. You know what
How funny. You are funny.
Oxford Castle.
Oh, that was funny, wasn't it? Oh my God. I've never jumped so much in my life. But at Oxford Castle, me and Gemma went down to the crypt and we heard people talking in the crypt, didn't we?
Yeah.
Then I said to Gemma, there's a conversation in that crypt. And we both heard the conversation. Went in there was nobody there, was it? It was just us.
No, it was unreal.
Very, very bizarre
But
conversation.
even Luke, because Luke isn't a wimp, I don't think at all. Like he walks around on his own. Even I think we were with Julie and me and Luke were in the early hours.
That's right.
And we said, "Well, we'll see you later then, Luke." And Luke was like, "I'm not staying here. I'll come with you." And I was really shocked. I was like, "God, Luke, you're usually like really hardcore." But
Like about 5 in the morning or something ridiculous,
he was
wasn't
like,
it?
I feel uneasy in there. I've got to come with you," he said.
I think sometimes you have to heed that warning, don't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can stay in a room on your own and think, that's quite pleasant in this room. It's like Mary's room, wasn't it? I didn't think there was a bad energy in that room. I thought it was a real nice energy in that room.
That wasn't until Julia touched my leg.
Oh my God, that was so funny. I've never seen a room full of people jump. It was so
That
funny.
wasn't for
I don't think your
spirit
feet
either.
touched the ground. You just like leapt. You just like
He
leapt
left,
like
the,
6
left the
foot.
stall there.
Oh, it's
If that would
funny.
happen, Gemma, you run in the wrong way, girl. You need to head for the door, not further in the
I
room.
know. I don't know what happened.
Oh my god, it was
Oh,
funny.
that's funny.
That was so funny. But that was a very pleasant room, wasn't it? There,
And
Yeah.
that
you
was a
know,
different. Mary's room seemed
yeah,
more. It was different compared to the crypt.
yes, yeah.
Different atmosphere completely.
But it just shows you, doesn't it, how much energy changes from room to room, place to place. You know, is that energy with the people that were in there before you, people who are in there after you? You know, do we, like say, you know, you could go into one place, some people can hear something, other people can't hear it. You say, I can hear a tapping, I can hear it. And other people say, well, I can't hear anything. Is that because you're more switched on or you're more open?
You're more sensitive, yeah. Don't
Yeah.
know.
And I think, like yourself, Jimmy, you're very sensitive to movement.
Yeah.
You know, when we were
Just
at Fort
a bit.
Ridley that time and we had the lights go out, the laser
Oh,
lights
that
go out,
was
and then you felt someone touch your hair, didn't you? You know, so yeah, that was weird, seeing the lights go out.
Yeah, really weird.
So, you know, these things happen, but that's what we investigate for, isn't it? That's what we go looking for. You know, whether we'll ever get the true answer, maybe not. You know, maybe we might get it one day when we're least expecting. I think sometimes I think if you go there and not expect nothing, but sort of relax and be yourself, I think more things happen. The more you go there, think, yeah, we're going to find something. It's all going to happen tonight. I think the more you relax, the more the energy starts to happen. Things start to escalate, don't they?
And also
also
when you
feel like
start laughing or talking,
Yeah,
when you're not expecting it, that's when it happens.
yeah.
and even like doing like the glass, and you know, sometimes I say to people, "Oh, just don't look at the glass. Look at the person next to you. Start talking to them. Start having a tell a
Yeah.
joke or something, and then you know, you'll hear a bang or a tap or something. You're like, oh, it's starting to kick off now. It's all starting to kick off. But yeah, it's
And
it's
it's like you
interesting,
say,
very addictive.
it's and, you know, it's like some of the EVPs we catch, isn't it? You know, I don't know how I seem to get some good ones, and sometimes I don't hear them, and I play it back and think, oh my god, I never heard that. But the voice recorder heard it, because it could be that it's higher or lower than our hearing frequency.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the one in Not the Fault. You know, the little child in the tank room.
Oh,
You know, that was a different level. That got dark as dark, and then we all heard the scratching.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and we're thinking, who's scratching their leg? And nobody was scratching their leg. You know, what was that? You know, and you hear the little child say, "Mum," at the end of the video. I mean, there was something in that room down on that ground floor, without a doubt. But you know, I really enjoyed Not the Fault. It was a remarkable place.
I really like that. I would love to go back there because I think that was really, there was so much stuff going on there.
I think we
It's
just
like
had like a scratch the surface, didn't we, with like a little tester and.
Definitely.
Well, it's like you and Julia heard their voices, didn't you, when you were walking down the tunnel?
Oh, that was something.
Yes.
That was like 2 or 3 people, like all around. It seemed like they were like going around us, wasn't it, Julia? In the little hall, the hall
Almost
bit.
we'd stepped into some sort of like little
Like,
circle portal thing.
yeah.
And you could just hear it sound like 2 or 3 people just
Like
all
having a
talking.
conversation, yeah.
You couldn't make out what it
odd.
was or anything. It was just like, oh, it's
Always
people.
seems to be mumbling, doesn't
You
it?
looked at me and I looked at you, and we obviously we did, and then we were like, can you hear that? Oh gosh.
You never really want to say
I was
anything, do
grabbing
you?
hold
Because
of
you
your
think,
sleeve, wasn't I, so that you didn't run away without me?
Yeah. Yeah.
but them
yeah, that was quite
conversations
fun.
always appear to be mumbly, don't they?
Yeah.
Couldn't make
Have
out
you
what it
noticed
was.
that? Yeah. It's always mumbly, like the ones we hear here. You know there's a conversation, but it's very mumbly.
You can't hear it.
No.
Well, you
It's
can
very,
hear it, but you can't work out what they're saying.
no.
Wonder why that is.
maybe that it's on a different energy level or different frequency that we just can't quite hear. It's like, because I think it's 250 or 2,500 our hearing range hertz. So we hear at that range where your EVP, your recorders, mine records from 55 hertz up to 55,000 hertz. So it has a massive sweep range through it. So is it that we can hear it, but we can't hear it clear enough because it's on an energy or frequency slightly higher than we can hear, or lower? And we can just hear the mumble, but not the clear conversation. I don't know. But yet on a voice recorder, you hear it quite clearly, don't you? Even though you hear it mumbly. So it's really weird. I say weird, it's not weird, is it? It's just how they work, isn't it? They want to hear the conversation. I've heard people sort of whisper in your ear, hello.
Yeah.
And I heard it.
I've had
And yet
people punch me in
Have
the
you?
arm. Yeah, that was at Manor Farm. Came up and punched me. Then I've had another one that it sort of like scratched my neck, and it wasn't until I was going home I thought, God, my neck feels sore, and I was like, felt a little bit, and I thought there's something raised on it. And as I sort of like went along, it was like a big scratch going right along, like like when you get a pin and you sort of you scratch your skin with a pin, you get this like raised line. That's just what it was. But I didn't feel it happen at the time. But anyone was going, God, my neck's sore, But
And it's strange how that happens. And yet you think if you get a scratch on your body, or you'd feel it there and then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it wasn't until I was going home. But when people go, "Oh, they can't hurt you," I don't think they can hurt you, but I think they can, punch you and scratch you and push you.
Yeah, I think they can let you know that they're there.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
I don't think they can go to another level or cause you, unless you're in that dark world where things in the dark world are more powerful than we'll ever understand. But I think in what we do, the scratch, and sometimes there's a warning. Maybe it's I'm here, you're not listening to me, so I'll scratch you, or I'll push you, or I'll tug your hair, or put my hand in your hair. Maybe that's I'm here, but you're not acknowledging me. Why not? That type of scenario, maybe. I don't know.
The
People
punch
do
was
get
quite
scratched.
powerful. It was sort of like as if
Was
someone
it?
went like that.
Really?
But there was no one. I quickly put my torch on, but there was no one around me. That quite hurt, actually.
Don't damage yourself live on air. We lost Andrew again. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's an interesting subject, isn't it? How they can do what they do and how they do it. It's a bit like Ouija board with a glass, isn't it? And table tipping. Is it our energy that's making the table tip, or is it them moving the table? Yeah,
it's one of those sitting on the fence type things. You never know whether it's our subconsciousness making it go, and we just like, believe that it's them, but it's us subconsciously moving it, or is it them moving it?
But
It's weird,
sometimes
isn't
you
it?
see the table tip and it stays up on 2 feet. That defies logic, how it can just stay up. It tilts, doesn't it, and stays there. And you think, how can this be? We never asked it to tilt. How can it hold it there and then slowly let the table back down again?
Yeah, Julia, do you remember we went to I can't remember what it was. It was that castle. I can't remember now. It was that castle,
Outdoor
that
event?
big heavy
Indoor?
table.
Oh, it was that place in Warwick. It was
Warwick,
oh God, what's the name of it? It's
can't remember.
Guy's Cliff.
Guy's Cliff. We went into a room with what was it? A solid oak, really heavy solid oak table.
Yeah,
And something happened, didn't it, to the table?
There was at least 8 people, probably about 3 each side.
I'd say there was
Wasn't
more.
there?
I
More
think
than
there was
that?
about 10.
there was we'd all like piled into this room, and there was 2 heavy tables, and there was a group on one table, group on the other table. And it used to be where the
Soldiers.
something boys, what do they call them? The
Something boys, yeah, I can't remember the
boozy
name of
boys,
them.
Jersey boys,
That's
something like
it,
that.
something like that.
They used to go there. So I've jumped in on you carry on, Gemma. So I jumped in on your
No, I can't
story.
remember what happened, but didn't the table sort of lift up?
Well, it was they told us to do it in pitch black. So it was pitch
really
black.
weird. Yeah.
And, you know, me through experience thought there's no way, you know, this is such a heavy table. And the caretaker was there as well, and he said, yeah, if you sort of like brewery boys, he said,
the
if you
brewery
keep on calling out,
boys.
come on brewery boys, you know, come
We
brewery
were
boys.
giving all the energy, weren't we?
Yeah, and we're all sort of like, yeah, come on. Excuse my cough. And then anyway, this table felt like it was levitating.
Oh.
And you just couldn't really believe it. And I thought there must be something underneath it lifting it up, because it's so
really
heavy.
bizarre.
And when it had all finished and everything, we were like, oh my God, wow. You know, what, you know, it's just a table. We've pushed it into position and that. And one of the ladies who was with us, it was Derek's stepson's girlfriend. She was with us. And she said she wasn't really a believer. She used to come along anyway.
Yeah.
And she said when it was coming up, she said, I was trying to push it back down. And she said, it wouldn't go back down.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
So
the
that's
most bizarre thing I've ever,
That's incredible,
like
isn't
the
it?
table tipping and stuff like that. And even Neil said, didn't he couldn't get over it either. He was like, God, I can't believe that happened.
And we were in one place where I think we went back, and I remember there was me, Neil, Derek. I don't know if you were there, Gemma, but there's a few people there. And we were doing we had this like pen and paper, and we tried some automatic writing. It's not something I'd sort of try very often. We tried this automatic writing, and we had it pitch black, as I said, pitch black. And there was 3 ladies. 2 had their hands like on the pen. 1 lady had her finger on the top of the pen. And all you could hear, because we said, come on, write for us. We had this big sheet of paper, come and write for us. And all you could hear was like someone almost like with, you know, like a ink pen writing really, really fast. And you could hear the pen scratching on the paper really fast. It was the most bizarrest thing I think I've experienced in a long time.
I'd love to go back there, but I don't think you can get in there, can we?
Yeah, you still get in there.
Can you? It's just so far away, isn't it?
About hour and a half, so it's not too far, really.
Far. I'd love to.
Where's that in Warwick?
Yeah, it's not massively far.
Just Oxford way, isn't it?
Yeah, just like North Oxford.
It's a fantastic place, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got some really good. It's even got a Masonic lodge in there as well. But yeah, it's really unusual place.
Sounds good.
But yeah, we might go back there at some point.
Sounds good. Any comments, Angela, from anyone? Oh.
Oh, evening, Jamie.
Right, so there's no comments. There's a couple of investigations coming up with Paranation, so get onto the website. Merley, is it Merley House in Wimborne? You still got tickets for that?
We still got we got Merris Woodhouse, which is a brand new venue for Paranation, but I believe Surrey Paranormal did it about 8-9 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So we've managed to get access to Merris Woodhouse. We got that on the 28th of June. So really, really looking forward to that one, because I've never done it, but I think Paul and Luke have done that one before.
Yeah, I've done it, yeah.
Really looking forward to that one. Can't wait. And then we've also got on the 12th of July, Merley House in Wimborne. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to be two fabulous venues. I can't wait.
We look
Never
forward
done
to
Murray
that.
House either. I've heard it's really good.
Reminds me a bit when you see it, a bit like the old convent. Remember the old
Yeah.
convent?
Yeah.
You know, that was a brilliant place, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, but such a shame, really.
Yeah.
But you know, these
Yeah.
things happen to these places, don't they? It's a shame,
Yeah,
really, because these good places are dying out, aren't they? Unfortunately,
or
it's
they're
such
getting
a shame.
converted into flats or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
It's a
Yeah.
shame, isn't it?
It is really. You know, you're losing the history, aren't you?
yeah, and
It's
it's hard
slowly
to
we're
find new venues. Like, you know, be like doing event hosting. It's just so difficult to come up with. And I like to, if I can get a new venue, I'm like, yes, we got the new venue, and I get so excited. And then I'm like, damn, that's such a long way to go.
Yeah.
yeah.
But let's do it. Let's do it. Let's just do it the once.
Yeah.
Let's do it. But
Sometimes you
yeah,
just have to travel, don't you? Go a little
Yeah.
bit further out your comfort zone, and you know you got to do it, and you just get on with it. It's only once in a month or once in a year you do that
yeah,
long location, but you know,
I'm glad we got Mariswood because that's a little bit more. It's not so far out, is it? I don't know how far it is from
no.
Angela, but it's not too far.
No.
I mean probably hour and a half, if that.
About
Angela
45
nearly
minutes,
did
no,
45.
yeah, no traffic, so about an hour.
How
Yeah,
long for you, Paul? An hour and a half?
about from us. Where are we? I would have thought over the hour and 15 minutes. Yeah,
Wow, God.
because we live right round by Gatwick,
Yeah, God,
Um,
yeah,
so
wow.
we have to come past the A3, and that way we'd probably go to it down the A3.
Yeah.
But it's a place that I've been. I did a paranormal night there on Halloween, Mariswood.
Okay.
It was a great night. We've had some good nights there. We've done that. How many times did we go there? 3 or 4 times, I suppose. Halloween was probably one of the better
So it's
times.
quite good. Quite good there.
Yes, it was very, very good. You know, lots of things happen. I won't tell you what happened and what you got to look for, but I think hopefully, fingers crossed, you won't be disappointed. Hey,
I'm
Luke.
gutted. I can't do the 28th, so
Oh
I'll have
no!
to wait until we do it again.
But what happened to you, Luke? That when you went there, good things. You enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah,
Interesting place.
that's my first investigation. That was
With Surrey Paranormal, was it?
Yeah, my first time going to one. I think in 2018.
Was it? Yeah. It must have been about that time. Because I think we did the old Brighton Police Cells before, and then went to Mariswood. Would have been on the Halloween. Yes.
I don't think they do them anymore, do they? The Brighton Police
No.
Cells.
They said they couldn't get the insurance sorted out.
That's such a shame because that was a
brilliant place.
Well, when I first put up for it, you know, someone messaged me and said, "Oh, it's really small. I don't know why you're doing it. It's really small." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, and if it's really small, then we'll just do it the once." But when we got there, I was like surprised at how vast it was. It was like
big. 3
landing
floors.
and landing and landing, and then it had the courtroom. You went down to the prison cells.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's this? You know, what's this person doing saying it's really small? I thought it was huge.
Yeah, it's
Had
very
a
big
really
inside.
good time there. Really, I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I only did it the once because I think of the distance, but I think I only did it the once. But yeah, I thought it was a great place.
Yeah, I think I
Huge.
did it a couple of times with Surrey Paranormal. That's where I got the picture of the judge up on the ceiling. Was there in the courtroom, up on the ceiling. Very great place, great place. You know, I really enjoyed doing that. I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, you won't be disappointed in Mariswood. But you
We'll
just
do it again. We'll do it again.
switch your ears on. That's all I'll say.
Could you like hear things then without having a voice recorder? I have when I did went for like a walk around.
Yeah.
So the lady could understand, you know, what we were after to hire it.
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh, how long have you lived here? How long have you worked here?" And she said, "Oh, 13 years." I said, "Oh," I said, "You must remember when Sammy Paranormal came, because she's like the event host and everything."
Yeah.
I said, "Because they came 8-10 years ago, something like that." And she goes, "Oh yeah," she goes, "I do remember a group coming a long time ago." And I was like, "Oh yeah," you know, and I sort of like said about Joe and everything. And I said, "You know, I don't know why we haven't done it sooner. I don't know why we haven't done it sooner." And I said, "Have you ever experienced anything?" And she said that the caretaker, who sort of locks up and opens up and everything, she said that, you know, he has like seen someone on, like, when you're standing in the lobby, the foyer, and you look up, he's seen someone like walk along the landing, and you know, yeah, he's experienced a couple of things there. Well, a few things,
Wow.
but yeah, I think it's just got a really good feel to it. There's the rooms with the oak paneling are
beautiful, aren't they?
because I said, you know, we can even like use the lobby area,
Yeah.
because that, you know, that's because that for me, that had as soon as I walked in, I thought, wow, this is amazing. And even like the little porch is, you know, it's all really lovely. And she said we got the garden as well, so you know, we can go out in the garden and do, you know, something out there if we wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we first went there, but we first ever went there, it was Halloween, and we caretaker sort of unlocked and said, "Oh well, I won't be going in. I'll come back a bit later." And off he went with his dog, because the dog won't go in there. So we were carrying equipment in, and we could hear children playing.
Wow.
Literally.
Doesn't it date back to something like the 1300s or something?
Yeah,
When you
it's a
go
bit,
in, there's like a timeline on the wall of
yeah. Because it originally it was a house that didn't have a porch, and over the years, because when it was a very upmarket, it belonged to a banker in London, and it was his Surrey suburb holiday home, and he used to come from London to there, and every time he had a big party, the guests would pull up on horse and carts, but they would get wet because there was no porch. So he decided then to build the porch so the horse and carts would actually go in under the porch, and his guests wouldn't get wet.
Oh.
So it's quite a place. You know, it's got quite a history on it. So it, you know,
Sounds interesting.
yeah, it's very different. So it's one of them ones where you, and Luke could tell you, you have to listen, don't you, Luke? And you hear it.
Yeah.
And you'll hear it. And even on all 3 floors, you'll always get something. Because that was on the 2nd floor that I ever saw my first ever apparition. When we set the fire alarms off. Second. We were on the 2nd floor, and when I saw the bloke and he came in to the hallway and was standing next to me, and just at that split second, these 6 women I was with on that level saw him. One fainted, had just passed out, and the other 5 run through the fire alarm doors.
Man, maybe it's good that I'm not going on the 28th.
Because they bolted out, because you had 3 experiments on 3 different floors.
Wow.
Of course, the fire alarms went off and everybody had to get out. But a lady, we had to wake her up that passed out, because she said, "I've just seen," what she couldn't explain it. And they were standing in the car park trying to light cigarettes.
Wow.
And it was really funny.
Wow.
That was the first time. That was my first ever sight of an apparition.
No, amazing.
Well, the first time I saw my nan, but the second time I saw him, and I saw the face pressed up against the window. That's what first caught my eye. And I looked around and thought, "Who's that?"
Gosh.
And I said, "If that's really you, can you come in?" And a split second, I felt it got very, very cold in that corridor. And that's always a cold corridor. And as I looked around, he was standing there. And I thought, what the and looked down, and these women like, one thunk fell on the floor. And then, of course, all the fire alarms off. And I looked back to see him, and he'd gone, obviously. It was literally that quick. But I described what he looked like. And when we Googled it, he was the architect that built the building.
Wow. Amazing.
So there's a little clue into that. So
I'm missing out on the 28th.
I'm sure you'll go back. I'm sure you'll go back. But it was always a good venue on Halloween.
Amazing.
because it's part of a veterinary school, isn't it, Julia?
Yes.
Massive place. It's a university now, isn't it?
It's
It used to be a college.
It used to be agriculture.
That's right.
Agricultural college.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it does a bit of everything. I think now. So
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else to add tonight?
No.
No. All good.
All
So
good.
good. No comments, Angela. It's quiet tonight on the comments, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Funny,
everybody's out in the garden.
I've come on and no one's come off.
Oh.
There must
It's
be
not
something
you,
wrong
Gemma.
with me.
No, it's not you. So only remains me to say thank you, Gemma, for coming on. That was really interesting story you told us. So interesting, and been interested all night with your comments and bits. So thank you, everybody that's commented in. Christine, Jason, I can't see anybody else. Deb, thank you for coming on tonight, Monday Night Paranormal Live. So it remains me to say a big thank you to Angela, Julia, Luke, Gemma, Jenny, and myself. Have a safe week. Take care, and we'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.